Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Hanshi Lee, the first World Series board gaming champion and the owner of Wales Entertainment. His newest game, Vines and Flowers Blooming Harmony, is currently on Kickstarter. Hans, welcome to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, everyone. I'm Hans. It's good to see you guys here.
Oh, it is great having you on this podcast. I mean, I was going through the whole background in your bio, and as soon as I saw World Series champion, I was like, wait a second. We just did an episode of The Hobby about 2 months ago, and as a prep for that, I actually watched The Hobby, and you're in The Hobby. You're in there as a first World Series board gaming champion. First and foremost, how did that feel, being able to put the ring on and kind of stand up on the podium and knowing that you were the start of this incredible kind of World Series is moving forward now?
Well, I guess that was definitely a very magical moment. I guess being lucky is like all I have in my mind at that time. Because I don't have any expectation when I went in for the competition, but it went out pretty well. So I guess yeah, it's a very pleasant surprise, I guess.
Now, had you been gaming for a long time prior to that? Like, where did you kind of build up your kind of knowledge base and so forth in kind of getting ready for that?
Yeah. So I have been playing board games for a long time, but like prior than WSBG, I wouldn't say I was like playing it for like competitive level or something like that. But we do like to play a lot of like strategy games at our own time, like during the weekend. But that's all. I would say I would just like a normal board game lover, like who enjoy playing board game all the time, I guess.
And then how did you find out about it? Like how did you know that this was even on? It was like the first one.
Yeah, I think know about it from Dice Tower.
Mm.
I think we were like tuning in, and then we heard about this amazing WSBG format, because like at that time I don't think there's anything like it. So
Yeah.
we're like and for me, I always like to participate in such event, because like I just I just like the vibe of like a tournament, because when you're playing at a tournament, it's just a different feeling other than just goofing around with your friend. It kind of bring out certain quality from yourself, like it's just playing differently, I guess.
Check it out. I think it's now soon to be released on video on demand. Um, but there was like one moment in that documentary where someone had made an error, or I mean, it wasn't nefarious. They said, "Oh, wait a second, I hey guys, just to let you know, I think I made that mistake, and that wasn't actually a legal move." And there was a whole adjudication coming in. And when you're normally playing a game with your friends, somebody might say, "Oh, I did that move by accident," and people are like, "Ah, who cares? Just keep going. Like, just keep the game flowing. No biggie." But when you have stakes, right, and you're playing for a winner, and that winner's wearing a ring at the end of that tournament, um, you can't just let things slide, right? Like you actually have to like enforce the rules. So, did you run into any of that when you were playing, where you guys had to like kind of put your foot down and say, "No, I'm sorry. Like, we can't let that go."
Yeah, I think there were two times at the first year. Like one, it's during my final match at Blood Rage, which I won my ring. Um, like I made a pretty bad mistake, and then immediately I kind of know, like, well, I shouldn't do that, and I try to kind of like retract it, but like it's like I'm saying, well, I want to march into this territory, but wait, wait a minute, I probably don't want to do that. But as soon as I announce it, like there's no takebacks, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, because they are saying that, well, because of like you see the reaction from the other player, like you might know they have something up against you or something like that.
Mm.
So they don't want me to do like a take back on that. It's totally understandable. So we played it out the way. So I tried to save it. In the end, it works out. It's not like very devastating to me.
Hmm.
So that's the good part. But like that's kind of the waking moment for me. Like I'm like, well, I cannot do that again. Like if I do that again, I will definitely throw away the game
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, so that's like the waking moment. And then like another thing happened during the semifinal when we play Carcassonne.
Hmm.
And then one of the other player, I think Ricky, he laid down a farmer, which is an illegal move. But
Mm.
then it went past his round, and then it actually went to the next player's round, the next player's turn, and then he discovered that's like a illegal move. So then it becomes kind of like a big drama. If you go to that streaming or that live it's either recording on WSBG channel or something like that. They actually kept that. I thought they would cut it out, but they actually kept the entire argument and
Yeah.
then the ruling stuff like that. So yeah, we went out for like a very long argument, I think. But then
Wow.
in the end, I think we kind of let him replay it. Yeah, because otherwise it would be take back that farmer and basically just lose that turn. Like at that turn, he didn't place anything, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the amount of stress and pressure that you must feel, because I mean, you got to be fully aware, and at the same time, you know that all our eyes are on you at the same time, right? So, just watching it was so cool. And then you took your win and said, okay, there's something here. I think I want to do more in this industry. And my understanding is that's what led you then to move towards doing Wales Entertainment. Is that a fair assessment, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the moment we decide to like move on to the next stage. Because like at that time we were just like YouTuber. We are always like Chinese speaking board game YouTubers since
Yeah.
like 2019. And then although we get a lot of audience in China, but like we kind of in a dilemma. Like we are not in a good position because like just because who we are. Like we are like board game lover who live in Los Angeles, but our audience is in China. So that put us in a very awkward space. So pretty much the publisher oversee like in the international space, they don't care about us because our audience is in China. So like it's hard to collaborate with the publisher out there.
Mm,
And then if we reach out to the publisher in China, because our audience is over there, it's hard to have them to send out the review products, or just hard to collaborate with the publisher over there. So we are in this awkward space, and then our model is always like we want to be the connection between the Chinese and the international board game hobby. Um, and then we are like, why don't we become like a publisher? Because we have this kind of connection. Because at that time, like we set foot into both the international and the Chinese board game community. Because of the WSBG, we know Tom, we know Paula, and then we kind of get to know with like the big player in the board game industry. So that's like maybe it's a good time to move on to the next stage because we know that like being just the influencer alone couldn't sustain the channel
yeah.
because of the our character. So we're like, we how can we turn this kind of like the shortcoming become our strong suit? So then we realize maybe we can do the things the other way around. So now we have like a lot of connection with the Chinese designer, and so they trust us because established as like a long time player in the Chinese board game hobby,
Hmm.
board game community. So they trust us. They trust us enough to give us the license for their game, so that we can be their voice, be their advocate, oversee to help them to make the international version of their game. So that's how we started pretty
What
much.
brought you to Los Angeles in the first place? Was it school, or what brought you there?
Yeah, school. I came to Los Angeles for high school like back in 2008. So it's been a while.
And then are you still bouncing back and forth? Like, are you still spending time in LA and then some time in China as well, or how is that working?
Yeah, especially after we become Wales Entertainment, like now we are actually like traveling back and forth between China and Los Angeles. Pretty much we spend like half of our time in Los Angeles and half of our time in China, because right now we have a development team that based in Guangzhou, China.
Mm.
So that's why we need to be here sometime.
And then, can you talk a little bit to the difference between the two markets for the board game industry, like the board game industry kind of in the Western market versus the Chinese market? There is a distinct difference, right, in terms of like types of games and so forth that are successful. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think there's a big enough difference. Like I think Tom actually said it before, like during one of our interview. We actually interviewed Tom
Mm.
like
Vassal?
long time ago. Yeah, Tom Massel. And then he said that like compared to the international like board game industry, like the Chinese board game industry is still like a an infant, a baby.
Yeah.
So it's pretty early, I guess. Like even now, I mean, obviously it's a very niche hobby. Like I know that like board game might be a niche hobby in like even at like US or European, but like it's even more a niche hobby in China. Like so that like in the niche market, I guess it's hard to push for like some of the games. Like for what I know, like some of the top sellers only sell like a couple of thousand, like probably like
Yeah.
1 to 2,000 copy in China.
Hmm.
So that's how niche the market is compared to other market. That's a fairly small number, I guess. And then so that's why it's highly competitive. And a lot of publisher, they are doing the other way around than what we doing. Like they bring the game from international market to China.
Yeah.
That's usually the business model they are comfortable with. So that's why we also kind of decide to do the opposite way. We wanted to bring the Chinese game to oversee, because we believe like that's what we can be excel for.
And then in terms of like starting your like as a YouTuber, right, and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of content creation in China, many people probably don't realize things like Google are banned, right? YouTube is banned. So are you using the local networks? Like, do you have like an equivalent YouTube channel, like the Chinese equivalent in China, or how are you guys operating that? Like, for instance, Kickstarter is like you're not doing Kickstarter in China, you're doing Modian, right, and things like this. So, um, how do you guys kind of operate in that regards in terms of your content creation?
Yeah, so when we started our channel, we create like a YouTube channel, but we also create a Bilibili channel. So Bilibili is pretty much the Chinese YouTube.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so that's how we started, and now we slowly started to set foot into like short videos, like TikTok, 小红书, uh, something like that. But I would say still like most of our content are longer videos that would do better on YouTube or Bilibili.
Nice. And then in terms of the, so I'd encourage people to actually check out your website as well, which is Whale Entertainment, Whales kind of entertainment.com, because you guys have a whole suite of games that you've launched, and Some really like the Taylor one looks really really awesome. Um, Currently, you have the Vines game that we're running, which is Vines and Flowers. That one was a Chinese version first, I believe, right? And then you brought it to North America, or did you do the reverse?
That one actually has like very interesting backstory. Like it started as like a college student's like degree project.
Yeah.
So we attend to like the I think it's called Guangzhou Academy of Art.
Okay.
Then like they have like the end of year show, and then some of the professor over there actually they have a program. They would have some of the student to make the board game as their final project.
Yeah.
And then we, as a publisher, went in be some kind of like a critique, but not really. We just there and then give them some feedback, something like that. And then if we see something that can caught our eye, we will actually sign it and help them to make it into a real product. Because like for the art student, they are more focused on the presentation of the game.
Yeah.
And then where we come in, we can actually help them to refine the mechanic to make it a complete board game product, I guess. Mm-hmm. So Vines and Flower, it's exactly a project like that. We really like the idea, the concept, but unfortunately, the rule, the mechanic they have before, it's I would say it's barely playable. It's um very luck based, I guess. Like it so that we kind of like strip away the entire mechanic and then we try to keep the essence of it. And then we remake the entire mechanic and then fit it in. So that's how it's turned out to be this Kickstarter project. So it's kind of like a collaboration between us as like designer and a publisher with the artist and the original designer.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I was just showing on the screen here while you're talking about it. And the name of the designer of this again? Who's the designer?
It's Wu Ying and Han Ningzi.
Nice. And so, for those who are kind of listening or watching, this is already funded, right? So this is the campaign, I believe, just finished yesterday, but it's in late pledge, so you can still pledge this game. It was unique, right? Like anytime I see any kind of 3-dimensional things happening on a game table, obviously table presence is something that is kind of top of mind, and it usually draws crowds, right? Anytime you see something 3-dimensional. One I can think of this is the Tiny Heist is a good example of this, where it's you're trying to use these little mini hands to pick things up and move things, and you're trying to do like a heist, but it's a 3-dimensional kind of game experience, right? Was this something that, like, when you're creating new mechanisms for something that is kind of unique, how did you guys approach that? Like, because I don't know of any games like this out there right now that work like this specifically, right?
Yeah, so I guess that's where my background kind of helped, because my background, I am coming from an architecture background. So 3D design is actually what I'm comfortable with. So that's why I love project with like 3D elements. And that's one of the reasons I think why the collaboration went pretty smooth. So we are able to make everything fit together, I guess.
No.
And then I guess the design principle behind like architecture design and the board game design actually works pretty well. So like funny thing is I actually put some of the board game elements into my some of my architecture design as well. So yeah, so I believe like design is something that a common language that can overlap no matter what kind of design it is.
Yeah, it is awesome. For those who are just being introduced to Vines and Flowers for the first time, can you explain, kind of using as descriptive language as possible, how to play this game? Like just the essence of how to play this?
Yeah, so it's basically a three-dimensional tile laying game. All the players are gonna work together to build that flower pagoda, but they will score points individually throughout the process.
Hmm.
And on the player's turn, they basically have two actions, which they have two options to choose from. They could either take a tile from the market, or they could put one of their own tile onto the pagoda and score a point. So when you put your tile onto the pergola, you will need to match either the flower or the vines. When you match the flowers, you complete a flower of certain color. You will trace through the vine and then see how many of that color you can reach to, and then that would be the point you score at that turn. So let's see. Let's say if you complete a yellow flower and then you trace through the vine and you get to like four more yellow flowers, so you actually get 5 yellow points at a turn. But the thing is, at the end of the game, only your lowest among all the color actually matter. So it's the classic Reiner Knizia scoring system. You need to be diversifying and collecting all the different colors in order to get a better result.
And then in terms of the playtime, what's the average playtime?
I would say it's from half hour to an hour based on the player count.
So it's a very much a great gateway game, and this plays, I believe, up to 4 players, right?
Yes.
And when you're designing this, and as I was scrolling through the page, I noticed like there's like you guys had like an acrylic contest, right? So somebody could get like an acrylic version of these tiles. When I think about things that have to fit together that are made of corrugate, the concern is always, with swelling over time of the pieces. How much did you guys put into just kind of the thought process around that and dealing with, okay, how these things are going to connect over time, right? So wear and tear of the game and so forth.
Yeah, that's actually something that we have been tuning for. I actually have like a kind of like a programmed file that can tweak the tolerance of the connection. So we actually have the factory to give us like a variation on that.
Mm.
So if it's too tight, then obviously over time it would wear out quickly.
Yeah.
If it's too loose, then the structure would be too loose, I guess, because it still need to be stand by its own. So we do like try out different variations. It include different different tolerance of the connection. So and at the end of the day, we chose the one we have right now to be the final solution, and we believe that one has the right amount of like snugness,
Mm-hmm.
so it won't come off, but it also won't be too tight.
Is there plans to make it like that premium acrylic version available ever?
So that's actually definitely one of our plan. Like
Yeah,
we were going to make it like one of the deluxe version of it, although it would be like very expensive because
of
like
course.
acrylic gonna be expensive
Yeah.
and it's going to be heavy. So shipment wise would be another challenge, and it would be cost a lot more to ship it.
Yeah.
But I guess like those still acceptable. But the thing that's not acceptable, and then for us, it's actually very brittle.
Mm.
So even like with the acrylic as the material, it's very brittle, and then the tolerance would be so fine that it becomes a responsibility for the factory. Like their tooling um, has to be accurate enough to produce that kind of tolerance in order to have it fit perfectly, but also not crack over time,
Yeah, because I would
which
imagine
is
if it
something.
fell, it would like shatter, right?
Um, well, I guess so. Yeah, if you drop it on the ground, it would probably shatter. But like not even that, like just by playing it,
Yeah.
when you put two pieces together, that action alone might make it crack.
Yeah.
So that's why we are holding it off. Although we love that presentation, but I feel like as a publisher, the first thing we need to make sure is the products need to be actually works. If it doesn't
Yeah.
work, I don't want to, like, we don't want to put it out there and get everyone's hopes up, and then we were gonna deal with like a lot of customer service afterward, I guess. But yeah,
I can
it would be a
relate. We had a game that we did a we tried to make it as premium as possible. Probably made it way more premium than we needed to, but we just kept adding stuff in that we thought was cool. And we did reach a point where we put an element in that was too premium, that the execution of it became a nightmare, like during shipping and things like this. And again, dealing with customer service issues, where it's like, okay, we added that in for free, but it caused a whole suite of problems. We would have been better off not adding that in at all, because you would have had better customer satisfaction. So I can totally relate. At some point, you have to kind of call it, right? And it is possible to go too deluxe on something, and where you go beyond the practicality of playing that game on multiple plays, right? Like, yes, something could be uber premium, but then and look beautiful on the table, but not as practical when you're playing. I can think of another game I backed. I'm not going to name the game because I don't want to call them out, but I backed this game, and the box came, and it was like 12 by 12 by like 10, massive box. The thing probably weighs 10 pounds. And by the time I got all the pieces out of that game, I've only played it once, because it's such a nightmare to unpack and pack every time. It doesn't fit my game bag. It's just impractical. And they could have done a much simpler version of that game, because mechanically the game's not complicated. But they went way over deluxifying it to the point of just silliness. And it was a good lesson for me as a publisher myself, that you can go too far on some of these things, and sometimes it might be better to pull the reins back on something, right? So these are little lessons you learn as you go, and sometimes it's lessons you have to learn through experience, right?
Yeah, I think like that's actually a fun fact that I feel like my architecture background actually helped me on that.
Yeah.
Like the client always want the fanciest stuff until they know the price, right? So I feel like that kind of constraint I am getting from my architecture background
Yeah.
experience. So I know that like choosing the right material is critical. Well, it doesn't matter, it looks good. If it breaks, we probably shouldn't go for that material.
Yeah. Larger weight too, shipping as well. As soon as you go to a like a wider box, it's much more difficult to ship it without causing damages. Yeah, there's just a whole suite of issues. Who are you guys using for your manufacturer? Do you work with all the manufacturers? Is there one you've been using more than others, or?
Well, I guess like right now we mostly use hopes for
Oops.
our
Okay.
manufacturing.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great.
Like yeah, since we are like pretty much like based in China half of the time, so that makes us very easy to reach out to different manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So we always send out quote to different manufacturer to ensure we have the best price
Mm-hmm.
and also the best quality in a sense. So yeah, um, but right now it happens to be hopes most of the time. Sometimes they might get outbidded, but I guess like 80% of our product uh, are made by Hopes right now.
Yeah, Hopes is fantastic. We did bunny drops using Hopes, and I can speak to their quality. Their quality is fantastic. So what comes next for you guys? Like, can you talk about what the next game is, or where do you go from here?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the next game we have two games on the line. It's pretty close to finish. When I say close, it's like the rule, at least the rule is done.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a werewolf duel, so pretty much like a one-on-one werewolf experience, I guess. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, that's the next game we have.
So it's like a social deduction, but with two people.
Yeah, kind of like that. I wouldn't say it's like a full-on social deduction because
Mm,
obviously you only have two people,
yeah.
but like within the two player, they have like multiple role to choose from. Like they could potentially be one of the role out of 4 or out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to kind of use deduction to kind of figure out what kind of role they're going to choose for this turn, because some of the role allow you to attack certain role, but you have to guess it right. So that's how when the deduction coming in. But I am kind of like getting that kind of on the edge experience for werewolf. You kind of know, but you might guess it wrong. So that's my personal experience with werewolf. It's not so much about solid deduction, but sometimes you just have to play the mind game with the other player. You have to actually get into the other player's mind other than doing the actual deduction, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, for those who want to check this out, it is a late pledge. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for them to check out. Such a beautiful game, and I know that a lot of the backers you have are just for table presence alone are probably going to pick up Vines and Flowers, but at the very least, check it out. Link in the show notes. Hans, I want to wish you and your team all the best in the delivery of this game and your upcoming titles, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
No worries. You take care. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.